I definitely did. The person that came to mind was my AP coordinator, Mr. Hidalgo. I was fortunate enough to have him as a teacher last year for AP United States History. And history has never been my favorite subject. I've never really been interested in it. But he was just so passionate about what he teaches, and he made class so interesting and so engaging. And I think it's very rare to find teachers that teach for the right reasons, because they want their students to learn and they want their students to succeed. And something really important that he taught me is that the point of school is to learn. I think we get so caught up in grades and GPAs and ranks, but he taught me that the most important thing is to learn and to make sure you keep learning.
That's great. Jacob, who was the one adult for you?
Well, almost automatically, my former doctor, Dr. Reynolds, came to mind. And he taught me perhaps one of the greatest lessons that I still hold about today. It was my first initial meeting with him before my diagnosis that I did have cancer, and he was talking in a joint meeting with me and my parents. And all the while, this nurse keeps coming in, and she keeps popping in saying, well, doctor, have you asked about their financial, how are they going to pay for this? What's their money aspect? How are we going to see the profit on this? And Dr. Reynolds looks at her and he says, nurse, if you come in here and ask me one more time how these people are going to pay for their child to get better, I'll have you fired. And that resonated with me because it taught me for the first time that I was something more than just a number. I wasn't a numeric, I was a person. And I think that that's something we have to take into account of every single person that we meet, that they are people and they have their own aspirations. And I follow that greatly every day of life.
Thank goodness for Dr. Reynolds. How are you, Lucy? What were you thinking of when she talked about that one adult in your life?
I was thinking of my father because throughout my entire life, I have seen him work tirelessly and in my eyes almost beautifully give back to his community. He serves as a physician, and I strive to one day give back and make a difference that my father has, but I think more importantly, in my life anyway, I've also watched him be the most hardworking person in my life and in my experience, and his work is tireless. He works such long hours, and at first it was hard for me to sort of understand that he was working for our benefit, because obviously I wanted to hang out with my father. But now that I'm in college, I see his sacrifice and I see the gift that he has given my family. I can go to the college of my choosing because of my father's sacrifice and honor that he has given us, and that is something that I want to carry with me for the rest of my life, and I'm really so grateful to my father.
I think we're going to have to send him a copy of this. So I love that one of your people was from AP, and collectively, I think we have about 20 AP courses just among the four of you, which is a pretty amazing amount of rigorous coursework. What made you take AP?
Well, besides the fact that my principal enrolled me in the class, I mean, I easily could have just said no. I easily could have said, you know what, it's too much work for me. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to focus on my basic high school courses. But then I realized that a lot of kids in my neighborhood, in my district, fight for AP. They realize that, yo, I'm not able to take AP. And if you are able to, just take it. So what's the point of, like, if you can get college credit, if you can pay less money to college, why not take any opportunity that you can? And I realized that, I was like, wait, whoa, I had people tell me that. I was telling people, I was like, no, I got offered AP, I'm not gonna take it. They were like, what? What are you doing? Like, what is wrong with you? And I realized that now, taking AP, I took AP Statistics last year, and I received a 5 on the exam, and I'm taking AP Bio this year, hope to get a 5, and I hope to, I don't know. Didn't take the test yet, so I got hope to. And also, in all honesty, just represent those who can't take the exam in my neighborhood. So that's why I'm really excited for AP and taking AP.
I love that. I love that you're representing your AP classroom. It's fantastic. What about you, Maria? What drove you to take as many APs as you have, which is quite a significant number, 8?
Yeah, in total by the end of this year. So I think the primary reason why I chose to do AP classes was because I wanted to challenge myself. I knew if I didn't go through with the AP program at my school, I wouldn't advance academically. And I think that the AP tests are so much more than just standardized multiple choice tests. They require you to think critically and analytically. And these skills that you learn in the classroom, you're going to be able to go and take them to college and even after you're done with your education. And my AP teachers also played a big factor in me joining AP, because from upperclassmen I had heard that one thing that all the AP teachers at my school have in common is that they're all very passionate about what they teach. And as I said earlier, it's very rare to find those kinds of teachers. And I definitely learned that as I went into these 8 AP classes.
Jacob, what drove you to take your AP classes?
Very similar to Maria's story is I didn't want to be sitting in a classroom bored by an easy class that I knew I could easily pass. I actually wanted to challenge myself and further my education that way. So I took, and this was probably foolish at the time, I took AP Chemistry. First time I've ever taken a chemistry class, I didn't even know what that is. That's a long time up at night trying to figure out what's going on with these atoms. I took those, and in fact I love AP so much that I've decided to take 4 more AP classes this year, and I will be pursuing those for many more long nights.
So Lucy, having been through it, I wonder, was making the choice worth it?
It was so worth it. It was one of the best choices that I think I made in high school entirely. So I am pretty nerdy. My favorite part about a class is when I get to mull over the topics after the school day has ended, and so I was offered that chance in AP. I remember in my AP English class, there was this one tricky problem on the multiple choice section where we were trying to decide what literary device was appropriate, and my class was so stuck on one answer, and so we spent, I think, the entire class just talking about the other literary device and why it was the appropriate answer. But what that example taught me was, even after the class was over, I was still thinking and pondering the literature and the way that literary devices function in a text, and so I wanted to pursue that. And then in college, that skill is really important. I mean, the level of college is so much higher than high school, and so you have to be really obsessed with learning, and you have to want to learn when you're in college. And AP teaches you those skills. AP teaches you to appreciate education for what it is, and it gives you the confidence to do well and to seek your goals.
So the 4 of you have a very unique opportunity this afternoon, and it's actually not sitting up here on this panel. It's having this captive audience here in this room in front of you, because you get to represent your peers and yourselves and give them some advice. So I want you to take a moment before we close today and share with the educators here today from higher ed, from high schools, a piece of advice that you want them to take with them as they go back to their work in supporting students. What do you have to say to them?
Before I start, I'm just really honored to be here. I know I'm missing school, but it's just an honor to be in a room full of esteemed educators. And if you guys forget anything that we talked about earlier, please remember these four opinions. About to be 5, because I'm gonna have 2. So the first thing is that numbers do not tell the whole story. And the numbers don't tell the whole story, because you can't say a student will succeed based on his or her SAT scores or his or her GPA or a rank or just any numerical value that you associate a student with. You can't say a student will succeed. A 2.0 GPA in a high school that doesn't have a lot of resources, you can't say, oh, that student will fail or that student will drop out just because of their average or just because of GPA. You have to look at the student holistically and actually take into consideration outside factors like extracurriculars, outside factors like the personal statement, and just teacher recommendations, all the other things that matter. Yes, test scores and GPA should have a factor, but it shouldn't be the determining factor to determine if a student will succeed. Sorry, I'm gonna have 2. The second one is that there are a lot of students in this nation that have high GPAs and can excel in college, but they come from low-income backgrounds. So I am a student, I fit that profile perfectly. I have a 4.0, but my family makes $50,000 a year. And that's me and my twin brother. So it's like, how are they gonna pay for us to go and further our knowledge? And I have a question for you guys. It's a rhetoric. Why is the price of college going up, but the money allocated to pay for it is going down? understand it's not going to take a day. I understand not a year, maybe not even 5 years. Maybe it's like 20 years from now. But please, I want my kids not to have to worry about furthering their education. I don't want my kids to worry about getting a degree to get a job. They can't get a degree if they can't go to college. So we have to make college more accessible to everybody.
So is there anyone here in particular who's going to be seeing the whole national picture? You're going to be sending applications soon?
Of course. Almost everybody in this room I will. But if you want to hear names, particularly Vanderbilt, call me.
Kids, such as some of these on the panel, I think they have like dreams and aspirations of going to the top universities in this country, but their options are kind of limited because, like you said, they may not have the highest GPA or the highest test scores because they don't have the resources to do so. But I think it's important to understand the context of it all, and that despite these economic barriers that they face, they were able to succeed in high school, and I think that they can bring that same determination and dedication to college.
So, well, we might as well continue with the calling out. Who's going to be getting your application?
I have my eyes set on Stanford.
Jacob, I know you're going to speak your mind and tell us what these folks need to know.
Well, yes. If there's one thing you remember at all from me, it's to understand that, speaking from a student's perspective, that there is no such thing as a cookie-cutter classroom. And that every person is different, everyone has their own individual aspirations and goals. So if you're going to provide education, you need to somehow tailor it to their aspirations and their goals. Because no student wants to be involved with something that doesn't have anything to do with them. It has to relate to them for them to be involved and want to actually do it. So if, let's say, someone wants to be a doctor or something and you're teaching linguistics, you need to teach them how to converse with someone, or how to write things, or how to do something that relates directly to the medical field. And that will make them feel involved. That will make them feel like you're actually taking time to teach them something specifically tailored to themselves. And once people start to feel more involved, they're going to start to like seeing what education can do for them. They're going to start doing better in education, they're going to start to do better with everything that they do, and they're going to want to pursue higher education because they know it's for them, and they can actually do it. So that's what we need to do to provide proper education for everyone in America.
And so where are you planning on pursuing your higher education?
University of Washington will be the first one to get my application. And anyone in this room who values people's individuality and their own aspirations, you will be sure to get one of my applications as well.
So Lucy, what's your advice for the folks here today?
So I have benefited from an approach to education that from my perspective and my experience, is a little bit unique. When I was in middle school, my science teacher told us almost every day that we need to have a passion for learning for the sake of learning, and if we invest all of our energy in becoming so engrossed in the learning process, that will carry through and make us more successful and more engaged learner than if we pursue grades exclusively. And I say this because in my high school, I felt as though I was one of a few students who approached education with optimism and education as a way to just learn more and not just to get the grades, which the grades are important, but my science teacher always told us that if we work hard and for passion, the grades will follow. And I think I'm observant of a pretty hyper-competitive society that we live in now, and so I would just like to invite all of you to remind students that their purpose in high school and college is to learn and soak up as much as possible, because learning, as we all agree, is so beautiful, and that shouldn't get lost in the pursuit of grades or test scores. So
that's great. Here today, I just want to invite up one more time the chairman of our Board of Trustees, Douglas Christiansen.
I had the great opportunity meeting